Okay, so Dr. Helen Onyeaka is an industrial microbiologist with over 25 years of experience in industry and academia. She teaches food microbiology, food safety and chemical engineering, and supervises PhD and MSc research. Dr. Onyeaka conducts training for continuous professional development, including for food safety inspection officers and international trainees from the Saudi Food and Drug Authority. Her PhD research focused on how changing microenvironments affect microbial cells, earning her the Bryden Postgraduate and ICAM Biochemical Engineering Award. She enjoys travelling, reading and charity work. And I just have an also short video to play you as well about Dr. Helen's work.
Present, our climate faces critical environmental challenges such as climate change, loss of biodiversity, environmental pollution, and food waste. It is imperative that we address these challenges to ensure a healthy and sustainable future for all. Our research focuses on innovative ways to enhance sustainability and resilience of the food production process, with a particular focus on food security, food waste valorization, and innovative technology of food production. One of the innovations we're doing right now in the laboratory is exploring the use of microorganisms to produce food, specifically algae chlorella. So we're looking at innovative ways of producing algae in a large quantity and then harvesting it to make flour for the baking industry. Another area of research we're looking at the moment is biodegradable packaging from spent yeast slurry from the brewery industry. We collect slurry, we come into the lab, and then we have different stages of producing the film. Once the film is being produced, we then micro-encapsulate the bacteriocin, which is natural antimicrobial, into the packaging, the films, and then use these films for coating of food. Other exciting research we're doing is revalorization of food waste to create a circular economy and also reduce the environmental impact. What we're doing in this research is we're working with different types of waste, because traditionally, food waste is dumped into landfill, and this creates greenhouse gases that go on to compound the issue of global warming. We're working with cocoa beans, coffee waste, and also eggshells, and we're extracting valuable compounds from them. Alongside my research, I am also the Deputy Director of BISCA. BISCA is the Birmingham Institute of Sustainability and Climate Action. BISCA facilitates partnership between academia, industry, and government, promoting the implementation of innovative solutions like microbial-based food production and food waste revalorization in real-world scenarios. We do this through having various workshops, engaging in policy briefs, and direct engagements with stakeholders. At BISCA, we aim to translate cutting-edge research into actionable strategies for sustainable development. As we look into the future, our research group plans to further our research efforts in the following areas. Firstly, informing policy decisions with research findings to promote sustainable practices and conservation at a global scale. Secondly, partnering with different industrial collaborators to implement research findings and promote sustainable practices across various sectors. At the University of Birmingham, we aim to contribute to a more environmentally friendly and sustainable future, safeguarding existence, ensuring food security, reducing pollution, and promoting a healthier planet for generations to come.
Marvelous, thank you. That's such exciting work that you're doing as well. And I know Helen very, very well, that we work together at the university, but she's such a busy lady as well. But I'll invite you, Helen, now to come and give your keynote speech.
Thank you, Lisa. And thank you, Green Institute. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. And welcome to today's symposium in honor of World Food Day 2024. My name is Helen Onyeaka, and Lisa has introduced me. So just a bit about what I do. So I'm an associate professor in chemical engineering and my research is focusing on sustainable food systems with a particular focus on food security, innovative food production technology, and food waste valorization. I also wear another hat here at the University of Birmingham. I am the Deputy Director of the Birmingham Institute of Sustainability and Climate Action. It's really an honor to be speaking to you today about a topic that is both critical to public health, sustainability, and food safety. The title of my talk today is Bridging the Gap: Safe Food as a Foundation for a Sustainable Future. As we reflect on this theme, I encourage everyone to think about how essential food safety is for achieving a broader sustainability goal that we should all strive towards. It's very important. So I would like to start by giving a brief introduction to food safety and then sustainability. Food safety and sustainability, they are really interconnected, okay? So food safety involves practices and measures to ensure food is safe to eat. So it ensures that we do not eat food that will cause us harm. Most of us like to eat. I love eating, I like food. I wouldn't want to go and buy food, eat it, and then fall ill, okay? So that's food safety. So these are enforced by countries, international organizations, and individuals, and this differs depending on the country. Whilst on the other hand, sustainability means good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's symposium in honor of World Food Day 2024. My name is Helen Onyeaka, and Lisa has introduced me. So just a bit about what I do. So I'm an associate professor in chemical engineering, and my research is focusing on sustainable food systems with a particular focus on food security, innovative food production technology, and food waste valorization. I also wear another hat here at the University of Birmingham. I am the Deputy Director of the Birmingham Institute of Sustainability and Climate Action. It's really an honor to be speaking to you today about a topic that is both critical to public health, sustainability, and food safety. The title of my talk today is Bridging the Gap: Safe Food as a Foundation for a Sustainable Future. As we reflect on this theme, I encourage everyone to think about how essential food safety is for achieving a broader sustainability goal that we should all strive towards. It's very important. So I would like to start by giving a brief introduction to food safety and then sustainability. Food safety and sustainability, they are really interconnected, okay? So food safety involves practices and measures to ensure food is safe to eat. So it ensures that we do not eat food that will cause us harm. Most of us like to eat. I love eating, I like food. I wouldn't want to go and buy food, eat it, and then fall ill, okay? So that's food safety. So these are enforced by countries, international organizations, and individuals, and this differs depending on the country. Whilst on the other hand, sustainability means, excuse me, sorry, just gone off. Meeting current needs without harming the future. So what can we do to ensure that our food is there for the future, okay, generations to come? So without safe food, public health deteriorates, which can lead to an overburden on the healthcare system and significant economic loss. To achieve a sustainable future, we must prioritize food safety within our broader sustainability initiatives. So as we discussed today, we must think at the holistic picture of sustainability, safe food, and future generations. So think about that all together. So if you look at my slide I've got here, the environment, pollution can affect food safety. And also food waste can cause environmental pollution. So it's all interlinked. So let's look at the current global state of food safety. What is global challenge of food safety? So food safety remains a very big issue globally. According to the World Health Organization, this data was obtained on the 4th of October. It was updated just as recently. It estimates that 600 million people and nearly 1 in 10 fall ill from contaminated food, leading to 420,000 deaths and 33 million lost healthy life years. So this is really a staggering number. The burden of unsafe food is really disproportionate and is felt most by the vulnerable population, including children, the elderly, and the people in the low-income region. Beyond public health, unsafe food costs global economy around 110 billion in productivity and also medical costs. This underscores the need for a comprehensive food safety measure at all levels of the food system. So it's quite important, okay? So looking at the other aspects of it, the impact of unsafe food in public health. Unsafe food has a far-reaching consequences on human health. Contaminated food can lead to a wide range of illnesses, from gastrointestinal issues to life-threatening diseases like listeriosis that causes abortion in pregnant women and deaths for the vulnerable population. Salmonella can cause illness and also some long-standing consequences. Escherichia coli infection can lead to also other complications and death in certain cases. So the vulnerable population, including infants, pregnant women, and immunocompromised, are particularly at risk. So foodborne illness often lead to prolonged hospital stay, long-term health problems, and in the most severe cases, death. And when you think about it, how can you quantify losing a life after you've eaten a food? I mean, it gets me, quite passionate about spreading the importance of food safety. I'll buy a food to eat. I want to enjoy it. I don't want to fall ill or even die from that. So it's very important that we think about what can we do to ensure food is safe. So food safety is not just about preventing illness. It's about ensuring the well-being and the long-term health of the population. So it's all interconnected. So moving on, safe food as a pillar of sustainable development, meeting current needs without harming the future. So what can we do to ensure that our food is there for the future, okay, generations to come? So without safe food, public health deteriorates, which can lead to an overburden on the healthcare system and significant economic loss. To achieve a sustainable future, we must prioritize food safety within our broader sustainability initiatives. So as we discussed today, we must think at the holistic picture of sustainability, safe food, and future generations. So think about that all together. So if you look at my slide I've got here, the environment, pollution can affect food safety. And also food waste can cause environmental pollution. So it's all interlinked. So let's look at the current global state of food safety. What is global challenge of food safety? So food safety remains a very big issue globally. According to the World Health Organization, this data was obtained on the 4th of October. It was updated just as recently. It estimates that 600 million people and nearly 1 in 10 fall ill from contaminated food, leading to 420,000 deaths and 33 million lost healthy life years. So this is really a staggering number. The burden of unsafe food is really disproportionate and is felt most by the vulnerable population, including children, the elderly, and the people in the low-income region. Beyond public health, unsafe food costs global economy around 110 billion in productivity and also medical costs. This underscores the need for a comprehensive food safety measure at all levels of the food system. So it's quite important, okay? So looking at the other aspects of it, the impact of unsafe food in public health. Unsafe food has a far-reaching consequences on human health. Contaminated food can lead to a wide range of illnesses, from gastrointestinal issues to life-threatening diseases like listeriosis that causes abortion in pregnant women and deaths for the vulnerable population. Salmonella can cause illness and also some long-standing consequences. Escherichia coli infection can lead to also other complications and death in certain cases. So the vulnerable population, including infants, pregnant women, and immunocompromised, are particularly at risk. So foodborne illness often lead to prolonged hospital stay, long-term health problems, and in the most severe cases, death. And when you think about it, how can you quantify losing a life after you've eaten a food? I mean, it gets me, quite passionate about spreading the importance of food safety. I'll buy a food to eat. I want to enjoy it. I don't want to fall ill or even die from that. So it's very important that we think about what can we do to ensure food is safe. So food safety is not just about preventing illness. It's about ensuring the well-being and the long-term health of the population. So it's all interconnected. So moving on, safe food as a pillar of sustainable development, well-being, which is SDG 3. Responsible consumption and production, SDG 4. For example, SDG 2 aims to end hunger by ensuring that all people have access to safe and nutritious food, and even sufficient food as well. Unsafe food hampers this goal, excavating hunger by making food unfit for consumption. SDG 3 focuses on health and well-being, where food safety is critical in preventing illness and promoting long-term health. SDG 2 for responsible consumption patterns, including reducing food waste and adopting a safer agricultural practice. So it's very important that we appreciate safe food as a pillar of sustainable development. Is very important. I mean, we all want to eat and be healthy, okay? And there's this saying in Africa about a hungry man is an angry man. I take that not lightly, because you need food to eat. Everyone should have access to nutritious food, because if you don't have access to nutritious food, that can impact on your productivity, on your health. So we need to advocate for zero hunger. And I'm very passionate about that. In my research and also in everything I do, I want to, I'm really going for zero hunger. Let's end hunger. Everyone should have access to safe and nutritious food. So let's look at the complexity of or the barriers to safe food and sustainability. Okay? So starting with the food supply chain is quite fragmented because causing insufficiency and delays in delivery and availability. So achieving safe food is complicated if the supply chain is impacted, okay? So because when you want to trace the food from the origin, and if there's a lack also in transparency of how it gets from farm to fork, this will impact on the whole supply chain being effective, complicated. And even if there's, okay, for example, if there's a delay, for example, that could lead to contamination, and if it's not transported properly. So how can you then recall and identify where the contamination happened if it's not fragmented? So we need a safe food monitoring that is transparent, so we can see what is happening from farm to fork. So we also have, for example, some outdated regulations, and inconsistent enforcement in certain countries, especially the third world countries. This will undermine food safety and the efforts made. Okay? So it's very important that we appreciate that global supply chain needs to be transparent, to be able to avoid contamination risk, and also for transparency in terms of if we want to trace back where the contamination happened. The other thing is climate change and its impact on food safety. So the warmer temperatures boost pathogen survival in food. And you have outbreaks happening. If you watch the pattern, outbreaks tend to happen in summer. So we're getting more, the summer is getting prolonged. So the warmer temperatures will encourage the growth of pathogens and even re-emerging pathogens. So the contamination risk is increased pathogen resilience, raises contamination risk in food, posing serious public health, especially in areas with weak safety protocols. Disruptive extreme weather events can cause severe weather damages that can damage the crops, impede the transportation, and eventually compromise food safety. The other thing is impact on production and distribution. So disrupted production leads to longer storage. And we know that when you store it for a long time, you can have mold growing if you store it in poor conditions. Increased spoilage, that leads to food waste, that then goes to landfills, that then increases global gases, greenhouse gases. So this all highlights how this, food safety risks and insecurities can occur when this is not done properly, okay, with this barrier. The next barrier I would like to talk about is policy gaps and lack of enforcement. I'm very particular about this, especially when I took on my role to work in the University of Birmingham. I was quite excited. And I remember putting up a program about food safety for the enforcement officers. I remember reaching out to some African countries and saying, oh, I have this program going on. Would you be interested in sending your enforcement officers to come and partake in this training program? And I was met with a bit of resilience in the sense that, oh, food safety does not affect the African stomach. And this has stuck with me for many years because I know it affects every stomach. So outdated regulation, leads to inadequate response to new challenges. Many food safety regulations are outdated and doesn't address the modern challenges like new pathogens and complex food chain. Pathogens are always emerging and re-emerging because the thing about microbes that I love so much and I teach my students is what doesn't kill them makes them stronger. A microorganism that is not normally pathogenic can acquire pathogenicity from the environment. And when they acquire that gene, they become pathogenic. So are the regulations updated regularly to keep up with the changing and modern challenges we're having? The other thing is technological advances. New food safety advances like genetically modified organisms, novel preservation methods often outpace regulations, leaving consumers vulnerable to new risks. There was an outbreak that happened a while ago, and all it was the company was trying to reduce the sugar content of food. Okay? And what they've done, they've replaced sugar with an alternative, aspartame. And of course, that will change the food chemistry. And that will then impact on how safe that food is. Because microbes that normally would not grow on that food will then grow. And that led to an outbreak. So what am I saying? Once a food production process is changed or a novel preservation technique is used, do they update their HACCP system? Who monitors this? So that leads then to the weak enforcement, inconsistent application. So this undermines food safety, allowing people to evade the consequences that should come from producing food that is unsafe for human consumption. One of the things that impacts on this is resources, the limitation of resources. because quite a few agencies, to be able to operate at the capacity that is needed, they need resources. So this causes lapses in inspections and inadequate oversight of the production facility. And this is really a problem in some of the third world countries. Enforcement is very important. Lisa happens to teach enforcement officers. It's very important that they are equipped with the knowledge and know what to do when they go out to inspect. Now, what are the strategies for building or bridging the gap? I like to say building, but what are the strategies? So to bridge the gap between food safety and sustainability, we need to focus on promoting sustainable agricultural practices, investing in education, and creating awareness, or if there's any awareness creating programs, and also fostering international collaboration is very important. It's very good to learn what are the lessons we can learn from this country that has got it, under control. What lessons can we share? It's very important that we do that. So, sustainable agricultural practices like organic farming and the reduction of chemical use can minimize environmental contamination and improve food safety. Education is key. Like we say sometimes in Africa, education is power. And I like that. So consumers need to be aware of safe food handling, storage, preparation practices, whilst producers must be trained in food safety standards and also sustainable production methods. So it's very important that it goes hand in hand. Collaboration, I can't even, talk more about collaboration. It's what we need in this modern generation. Collaboration across borders and industries will help, and it's quite essential in setting global food safety standards and ensuring widespread implementation. So all this, you can see how I've put that, flow diagram, it all integrates. Ways to integrate food safety and sustainability. So in terms of promoting sustainable agricultural practices, these practices will reduce the use of synthetic pesticides and fertilizers. So we can have integrated pest management and natural alternatives. Very important. So practices like crop rotation, agroforestry, and organic farming can improve biodiversity and reduce the need for chemical inputs. Optimize water use and support biodiversity with efficient irrigation and diverse planting is very, very important to maintain not just the soil health, but to ensure, our crops grow year in, year out. So these are some of the strategies. But if we were to look at them closely, we start with strengthening food safety standards. Now, food safety standards are fundamental in ensuring that our food supply remains free from contamination and harmful practices. So we need to implement regulations grounded in scientific research to minimize contamination risk in food production and to ensure adherence to the latest safety standards. So performing routine inspection of food facilities to verify compliance with safety regulations and identify potential hazard quite early so we can then put measures in place to ensure that food does not get to the consumers. And also providing continuous training for the food handlers. Training that focuses on hygienic practices, like yesterday was about hand washing, is very important and very key also. And safe food preparation techniques to reduce the risks of foodborne diseases. Most importantly, it's very important that we engage with government agencies, industry representatives, and other consumers groups to collaboratively develop and enforce effective food safety measures across the supply chain. So it's very important that everyone that is involved in food production or involved in selling of food understand, that we need to strengthen the food standard. Because once you eat the food, it's gone in, and if it's contaminated, it causes harm. The other thing I'm quite passionate about is investing in education and awareness program. Like I said before, education is power. So we need to be able to launch educational campaigns. We can inform both consumers and producers about best practices in food safety and sustainability. These campaigns will help build a more informed and responsible food system. We can have workshops, and workshops are very effective. I find them very, very useful. So workshop can be effective in training consumer, proper food storage or preparation techniques. Very simple workshop can be done, but people can see how can we, do this safely. Okay? So providing training sessions that equip producers with essential knowledge of food safety standards and eco-friendly farming practices is quite important as well. So also establishing partnership to share food safety standards and information is essential, especially in developing countries. These partnerships can exchange timely information and also provide technical assistance that strengthens the legal or the local food systems, making them more resilient to food safety threats. So it's quite important that we invest in education. It's quite important that we establish partnerships. It's quite important that we share knowledge. Okay? So an awareness, it's quite important that we know, because once we know, we can then implement the changes that are needed to ensure that food is safe. So that brings me to something I'm very passionate about, international collaboration. International collaboration is really vital for establishing shared food safety standards and best practices. This can help facilitate safe food trade and consistent safety criteria, because you can ensure then it goes across the border. Partnership is also important because partnerships enable us to be able to, work together, because we all have a common goal. So collaborative efforts will then strengthen food safety systems in developing countries through technical assistance and resource provision. Engaging in joint research is one way, and this can lead to new technology and methods for monitoring and improving food safety. And this can benefit all participating nations. And what I like about these international collaborations, there are quite a lot of grants that are available that is encouraging collaboration with the Global South and the European Union. So why don't we tap into that? Because this will help to build the bridges I'm talking about for us to be able to work together and ensure that food is safe. Because once we eat safe food, our health is improved. They work hand in hand, like I said earlier. So it's quite important that we appreciate this. So moving on to the next thing, I have a few case studies of successful integration of safe food and sustainability. I've talked so much about safe food. Let's look at some of the case studies I have. So we have the Global GAP Certification Program. This is a key example of how food safety and sustainability can be successfully integrated. So this program is about enhancing food safety and sustainability through rigorous agricultural standards and reduced chemical use. It's widely adopted in Europe, and it sets these standards, like I mentioned, and it covers criteria like safe food handling, pest management, and responsible resource use. Okay, so the idea also is it improves transparency and traceability in food supply chain, meeting consumers' demand for information on food origins. This global GAP certification program represents a comprehensive approach to food safety and sustainability, ensuring high standards and promoting hotel stewardship. The other case study where food safety and sustainability is integrated is the fair trade movement. I'm sure you've heard about it, fair trade movement. So this fair trade movement ensures farmers receive fair wages, improving their livelihood, because the percentage of the farm produce that goes to the farmers is just tiny compared to those when you go to supermarkets and buy those goods. It's almost like 10% they get. It's not very good. So this fair trade movement ensures that they receive fair wages. It lifts communities out of poverty by enabling investment in education and healthcare. This movement promotes environmentally friendly farming practices like organic methods and resource management. You have the certification that you see when you buy the products. So the certification provides farmers access to international markets, empowering them to advocate for their right and also the community development. So that's all the fair trade movement. Those are things that can be, good practices that can be adopted to ensure that our farmers are okay, they're looked after. Because it's surprising the amount of money that goes to them when compared to how much that particular product is sold in the supermarkets. It's just shocking sometimes. The other case study I have here is a Sustainable Seafood Initiative by the Marine Stewardship Council. So the Marine Stewardship Council initiative ensures safe seafood comes from a sustainable fishery. So you have certified fisheries must adopt responsible practices that protect the marine ecosystem, because it's very important that these fishes are sourced responsibly. So this helps in traceability, allowing consumers to know the origin of their seafood. And also getting this certificate is very important because it encourages fisheries to improve practices for sustainable seafood. Because if you go to the supermarket, people look out for those certifications, or even people, food production companies look out for certifications when they want to use that particular product. So it's very important that initiatives like this are adopted, to encourage people to think about sustainability, and on the other hand, safety also. The next one I would like to talk about is Farm to Fork initiative by the European Union. This is really, really exciting because, it's something that, I've been part of, understanding from farm to fork, what can be done to ensure that food is safe, in the sense that I teach it. The Farm to Fork initiative by the EU aims to enhance food safety and sustainability by reducing pesticide use. They also promote higher animal welfare standards for humane treatments in livestock farming. What is quite important, if you look at the logo there, they promote or they focus on minimizing food waste throughout the supply chain. And overall, it seeks to create a resilient and sustainable food system for consumers, producers, and also the environment. So looking at what it represents, farm to fork, how can we ensure that food is produced effectively? So by targeting inefficiencies in food production, processing, and consumption, this initiative really cuts down on waste, making the food system more efficient and sustainable. This, I think, it's really exciting because when I think about, what it represents. Now, what I like to, as I'm closing up, I like to talk about something that is quite important, because with the modern technology, with AI, we need to think what technologies can be used in achieving food safety. Technology, we know, is quite is a very important tool, and we can really adopt them to enhance food safety in today's complex supply chain. For example, blockchain technology can enhance greater transparency by securely recording every step of the food supply chain. This will help to improve accountability and reduces fraud through immutable and verifiable records. The other thing is Internet of Things or sensors for real-time monitoring. These devices or sensors provide real-time monitoring of food condition, which is continuous, allowing producers to detect potential safety issues before they reach the customers. So very important. Then the other thing is AI prediction. So AI can analyze large data sets to predict foodborne outbreaks and helps, enable faster responses, reducing the risks of widespread contamination. Amazing. So we must also update our knowledge and our thinking to embrace new technology. That's why I wanted to share this particular slide today. So having heard all we have said to you today, I'd like to have a call to action. Okay? So to achieve safe, sustainable food systems, we must, first of all, foster collaboration between governments, industries, consumers. We must all unite to address food safety and sustainability. The second thing is strengthen policies. Okay? So we must advocate for a robust policies that enhance food safety and support innovation. We can't close our eyes. We need to update our knowledge. We need to update, on par with the new technology. So we need to encourage innovation, invest in technological advancement to improve food traceability and safety. This is very, very passionate for me because when I think about food fraud and the impact it's had, on so many lives and outbreaks I've read about. So we need technology that can help detect food fraud or stop it. Education is key and is very important. So we need to promote education. We need to increase awareness on food safety practices, because at the end of the day, we want to buy food, eat the food, and grow up healthy. We don't want to eat food and then end up ill or even dying from eating food. So we need to all be committed to unite for a shared vision. Aim for a global standard where safe and sustainable practices are the normal, not abnormal. I'd like to say thank you to all of you for listening to me. And I hope this presentation has inspired you to think critically about the role of food safety and sustainability and global health. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Helen. That's a really exciting and informative talk. Okay, so if you have any questions that you would like to put forward to Dr. Helen, then there is the web chat that you can pop a question in there. And in the meantime, whilst we wait for a few questions to appear, I have a few questions that Dr. Helen might be able to answer for us. So how, therefore, do you think can developing countries improve their food safety standards despite limited resources and other things that they have to battle against?
Yeah, that's a very, very interesting question, Dr. Wino, because improving food safety standards in developing countries with limited resources requires a multifaceted approach that will leverage on existing strengths. So what are the strengths? Also, it will need to pull on international cooperation and think about what are the scalable interventions that are needed. So they need to be intentional about it. They'll need to want to do it. So because you think about capacity building through education and training, so they can focus on, building the capacity of local food producers, handlers, regulators through targeted training programs, teaching food safety handlers about proper hygiene, food storage techniques, what are the best practices. Training can be low cost and delivered through partnership with non-governmental agencies, local universities, or even international agencies. One other thing they can do is to strengthen also the regulatory framework. They should prioritize that, I think, enforcement of food safety standards. These regulations do not need to be complex and should address critical issues like hygiene, proper labeling, safe agricultural practices. So this is something the government can do. So a strong regulatory environment with both basic standards can significantly reduce illness and ensure that the food enforcement officers know what to do when they go. But what is most important I get excited about is potential for international partnership and support. So developing countries can seek technical assistance or financial support from international organizations like WHO or Food and Agriculture organizations. These partnerships can help countries adopt best practices and access funding for infrastructure improvement and create policy frameworks that ensures food safety. So there's so many grants that is available and all calling for collaboration with Global South. So it's something that can be done. But also, what thinking about it, even communities can drive some solutions as well. Okay, so they can decide that the local food safety community set it up, or even in the marketplace, to ensure that everyone is producing food, selling food with safety consciousness. So they can be local or community-driven solutions also adopted to enforce the standards. Yeah, so these are some of the, I'm sure there's so many more people can think about. These are the few I can think about at the moment.
There are, as you said, there's lots of, from say the World Health Organization or from different countries as well, will publicise on their own food control body and organisations and authorities their legislation and their practices and their best practice and policy documents that support their enforcement officers and what legislation actually looks like in practice. So there is lots of information available to people, definitely.
Yes, thanks.
Another question then is, what role can consumers play in promoting food safety and sustainability?
Okay, in terms of consumers, they have a very, very important role they can play to ensure food safety and sustainability, because their actions and choices can drive demand for safer and more sustainable food practices. For example, they can adopt responsible consumption habits. They should prioritize purchasing sustainably sourced and certified food products by choosing items labeled with certifications such as fair trade. I'm not sure what it's in Africa, but for here, we can look at fair trade, global GAP certification. Because if we do that, this will encourage producers to adopt safer and more sustainable farming practices. The other thing is consumers can do is to ensure proper food handling and storage at home. Food safety begins with the consumer. Handling food properly, such as washing fruits and vegetables, cooking at the right temperatures, avoiding cross-contamination while we're cooking, all this will help reduce the risk of foodborne illness. They can also prevent food waste by storing food correctly and planning meals more effectively. Another thing that is quite important is be an advocate for change. In addition to making sustainable choices, they can advocate for stronger food safety regulations initiatives in Nigeria, for example, because I'm from Nigeria originally. So by demanding transparency in food production and supporting companies with ethical practices, consumers can exert influence over food industries and policymakers. So the change can start from, we need a change. Enough is enough. We've had instances and cases of food poisoning or food intoxication. We need to buy food and be assured that the food is safe. I remember buying, a drink a long time ago when I traveled to Africa, and the drink was adulterated. So we can make a stand. There should be a system where you can report such practices. Things need to be changed. And I believe the consumers have the greatest voice, because if you refuse to buy something or buy a particular product, they'll be forced to make a change. Most importantly, education and awareness is, staying informed about food safety risks, about nutrition, about sustainable practices will allow the consumers to make informed decisions. So sharing this knowledge with friends and family can help raise awareness at the community level. So driving a collective action. So these are some of the things. I'm sure you have a lot more, but these are the things I'm thinking about, because it's something that is quite close to my heart. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Another question then, what are the most pressing challenges facing the global food system in the next decade? That's quite a big question, isn't it, really?
Oh, yeah. Okay, the global food system faces a range of challenges, many of which are interconnected with sustainability, health, and also the environment. But some of the pressing ones, number one, we've talked about earlier, mentioned it earlier, is climate change. The effects of climate change, such as extreme weather events, temperature changes, shifting rainfall patterns, threaten the agricultural productivity. This change can also influence the foodborne pathogens, because with the increasing temperature, you have more pathogenic microorganisms, and it's even food spoilage, food waste. Okay, so climate change is one of the biggest threats, and something needs to be done about it. The other thing is population growth, because as the population grows and urbanization, more people move to urban areas, the demand for food rises. This puts pressure on the food systems to produce more food with fewer resources. So this can lead to, unsustainable practices that can compromise the food system or the food safety and also the environmental health. The other thing that we need to be wary and to think about, because it's very, very important with the increasing population, is food insecurity and inequality. Many regions continue to face challenges of food insecurity. Vulnerable population in developing countries are disproportionately affected by unsafe food and lack of access to adequate nutrition. So addressing this disparity will require targeted intervention. We need to prioritize equitable access to food and nutrition. It's very, very important. Food poverty is something that we can't close our eyes about. It's something everyone should be passionate about. Every human has the right to food that is safe and nutritious. The last point I'd like to make, I talked about it earlier, it's about the supply chain complexity and traceability. In the UK, for example, it's not easy, track tracing, but we're getting there. But imagine in other countries that don't have the technology, how it's fragmented, from farm to fork, the transportation and the traceability will become difficult. So this increases the risk of contamination and food fraud, making it harder to ensure that it reaches the consumer safe. So to me, for example, where you don't have refrigerated trucks that are transporting the food across, where electricity is a problem, you don't have electricity 24/7. So these are the issues that needs to be addressed. And it's something important that, we don't close our eyes. There are things that are real. Not having adequate water supply. It's not even having refrigerated trucks that can transport the food. So that's why it's very important that we look at that, yeah? And I have a few other things, but I think, for time, there'll be opportunity to discuss.
Yes, that's very true. Yeah, infrastructure is so important, isn't it, to enable us to take that step further. But as you say, Dr. Onyeaka, time has caught up with us. So I think we need to perhaps move on to our next speaker. But thank you so much for your talk today. Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks.
Sure. There are some questions coming through in the chat, so I don't know whether you might
I'll take time, I'll address them directly.
Yes, okay.
Thanks.